A very good morning, team, and welcome back. Your USD is currently still consolidating, waiting to make its next move. As we can see yesterday, nothing really happened, where we failed to break the 1 hour fractal low, which is the low of this candlestick right over here. As we can see, we rejected the monthly open after respecting this high over here. We pushed back in towards the downside, but failed to continue retest and then again continuing towards the downside. So for myself, EURUSD is simply said just consolidating at the moment, moving within this box, and I am waiting on the sideline, as I've been doing it for quite some time now here on EURUSD. But at the end of the day, guys, it's all about capital preservation, being extremely calm and patient, waiting for the high probability setups to come, because EURUSD currently is just not very high probability. As we can see, we are still within our impulsive phase, meaning that we have this green zone over here. What we've had so far on EURUSD is a push down, a pull back up, a push back down, a pull back up, and then we saw another push in towards the downside. Now, at this very moment in time, EURUSD remains slightly unclear for myself. The thing is that I do not like that we did not grab the liquidity above this major high right over here. Now, this major high here is your main bump in the road, meaning that this here is the impulse in towards the downside that broke market structure. Now, when you get a strong impulse in towards the downside that breaks market structure, the very first thing that you always want to be doing is monitoring, hey, where did we build up liquidity to break that overall market structure? Well, that is obviously here above this high over here. And furthermore, we've also built up more liquidity because this high failed to take that out. So still, if we break out of this range in towards the upside, then I'll be looking maybe for a short-term long back up towards these equal highs that we have over here, despite it being slightly against the 4-hour trend, though it is in line with the daily trend, as the daily time frame remains bullish on a swing structural level. Though again, I must say the markets have been moving very, very choppy. As a matter of fact, you can clearly see here that your USD is also just moving slightly within a range, and it's currently in the lower bound of the range after we took out this final liquidity low over here and being inside the bullish market structure, which is swing bullish from, again, this low in towards this high. Market retraces all the way in towards the lowest of liquidity lows. And yeah, we saw a V-shaped reversal up, but again, another push down. So yeah, the markets are just very, very unclear on a EURUSD, in my personal opinion. Therefore, I'm just happy to kind of like wait, sit a little bit on the sideline. What I'm waiting for, again, is the same as yesterday. I'm waiting for another strong impulse in towards the downside from here. Then I would like to see a retest of these highs here as liquidity and then look for another short. So that would be the overall ultimate short position that I would be loving to take when we get back towards those, let's say, equal highs over here, which would then in the future be a bump in the road, which is part of the overall impulse here in towards the downside. Or what I'll be waiting for is for the market to, continue its overall leg higher. And what I would then be looking for is just markets push up higher, take out this liquidity high over here, and then once that liquidity high gets taken out, then we can look for another short in towards the downside. But for the rest, EURUSD is kind of like in a no man's land at the moment. Yeah, so waiting pretty much, and there are better pairs at the moment, such as USDCAD, but we'll touch on that in a second. Now, the dollar index in itself is still consolidating, not really doing much. We're having a hard time breaking the overall swing high, as we can see over here. Again, it's perfectly fine and still perfectly possible that the dollar index moves back down towards this blue dotted line, liquidates the low, and then, for example, heads up higher. That is possible. Or if we just head down lower, then the monthly open is kind of like your last form of support from where I would be looking for upside, because further down the line, what you have are really ugly lows here. And all of these lows are pretty much ascending. So if we don't bounce from that monthly level up higher, then I would see us just head down lower to take out this low itself over here. And maybe either take out this low even. So that's still a possibility there on the dollar index. For the rest, nothing much again has changed. We're really at a, let's say, difficult spot on the dollar due to us being at the breaker structure line. So we need to pretty much just wait for reaccumulation and then for the next impulse up. Daily time frame is, again, also slowing down a bit. We're stalling at, again, this high over here. It's still favoring another push in towards the upside. Following that analysis that I just shared here on the 4-hour time frame of liquidating the low and then heading up higher, or tapping that monthly level and then heading up higher. But we'll need to wait and see what happens on those lows, and from there we could potentially act on it again. For the rest, the dollar index remains bullish. We still are in a bullish impulse pullback, and now we're still in the impulsive phase, and therefore longs are the only viable thing slash option for myself that are here on the table. Going into GBPUSD, GU, what has happened there? We can see that we've been kind of like chopping back in towards the upside. Still looking to see what happens when we get around that monthly open level. Yeah, GU is also just very messy, guys. It's a big problem. I'm just going to be honest. These pairs are not really providing us with a lot of opportunities. We're stuck within this range throughout the entire month of November so far, though we're now retracing back up in towards the strong supply zone, which liquidated the high here. So this is a strong buy up and then a strong sell down, liquidating that high. Therefore, this supply zone does have the potential to push us down lower. Again, though, descending highs here, nothing really too nice. So I'll be monitoring. The only short that I kind of see is the monthly open, and then if we get that change of character, we could look for a short. On Wednesday, we have a very big announcement for the pound, so keep an eye on that. I'll drop an update on what that exactly is inside Discord. So personally, not really looking to trade GU at the moment or the pound due to that reason mainly. But guys, AUDUSD and NZDUSD, let's see what there is happening. AUDUSD is pretty much in the lower bound of the range. As we can see, AUDUSD has been consolidating for quite some time here. Overall, looking for some higher prices in the short term. I would love for AUDUSD to liquidate one of these blue dotted lines here. Overall, looking for some short-term upside. And I do see that as a potential viable option as we are at the lower bound of the overall range. Again, if you look at this from kind of like a range perspective, this is pretty much the range that you're inside of. Here we had manipulation on the highs, and we're pretty much at, let's say, the lower bound of the range. So when we look at a range, we have a range trading tool, which is represented with the 25 and the 75% fib. These are here the settings that I use. And all I simply do is I just look, hey guys, we're currently at the 25% level of the range, so there's definitely a bounce possible. You can see the market keeps on finding resistance at 75, keeps finding support at the 25. So all I'm simply looking for is some short-term upside once again. We've seen a 4-hour change of character right over here and then here. And here once again in towards the upside. So yeah, looking for some short-term upside. I don't trust this area of supply here because there's no liquidity in the push down. So yeah, looking to see if we can push up higher in the short to medium term. NZDUSD, pretty much the same. NZDUSD is a lot cleaner, but still not in a good spot at the moment. Yearly open is currently holding it from, let's say, dropping. Though I'm looking for NZDUSD to push up higher in towards liquidity, because the overall impulse in towards the downside is this. Well, within that overall impulse in towards the downside, we have one major liquidity high, which is this high over here, this black line. So all I'm simply doing now on NZDUSD is waiting for, again, one more drive up. And then from the black line, I'll be monitoring a potential short position. Now, my favorite pair slash setup, again, guys, USDCAD. Still, USDCAD is the only real viable option to trade here from all of the pairs that I analyzed on the daily market outlook, then together with gold. So USDCAD in itself is still very, very bullish. You can clearly see that we've had a impulsive phase here in towards the highs. This impulsive phase broke market structure over here. Once market structure got broken, we made a retracement. We made a retracement towards liquidity. So here we had liquidity together with the monthly open, and we had liquidity over here, and we had, for example, liquidity over here. Now, what did I do? I opened a position, first of all, on the monthly open / on the liquidity low with a wide stop loss. Then we entered another position on the next liquidity low over there, and the market's been reversing ever since, up around, 150 pips on that second position. Now, what the goal of the game is ultimately is to trade the impulsive phase within the impulsive phase. So what do I mean by that? Well, we expect now that this impulsive phase here is going to be replicated here on the right. And all I'm simply doing now is looking for the internal structure to align with my kind of like, bias. So we had obviously the push down, pull back up, push back down, boom, push up, meaning internal impulsive phase. Now within that impulsive phase, we have liquidity here. And all I'm simply waiting now is for the reaccumulation after we saw this break of structure here. And within that reaccumulation, waiting for liquidity to get swept and then for the next long to be taken. And then we'll trade the impulse within the impulse as the phase in between. We expect that to be what? Well, reaccumulation. meaning a pullback. Meaning the orange zone that we have over here. So waiting for that orange zone to commence, and then I want to be back inside of that green zone from where I'll be happy to take some longs. USD Swiss, what are we seeing there? USD Swiss remains very, very slow, still stuck within a range. Yeah, what can I say about this pair? Ultimately, what I'll be looking for is maybe some further upside still at the moment. And preferably take out this high here, and then once that high gets taken out, then maybe look for a change of character to trade the range back a little bit lower again. For me, USD Swiss is extremely consolidative, so that's what I'll be keeping my eyes on. And then we have, of course, USDJPY. So USDJPY we need to keep an eye on due to the yen potentially gaining strength here at the yearly open. This has to do with an intervention from the Japanese government / BOJ, so the Bank of Japan, who are going to intervene due to the overall impulsive nature of USDJPY since, let's say, September. This mainly has to do with monetary policy and with the enormous stimulus package that the Japanese government wants to launch. To launch that overall stimulus package, they need to borrow a lot of money. Hence why the Japanese yen is depreciating in value, because Japan is already the largest, holder of foreign debt, but also the country out of the G10 currencies with the highest debt to GDP ratio, and now they're going to take on, again, even more debt to fund this stimulus package, causing the yen over time to depreciate. However, what we've seen in the past is that the yen is or receives a currency intervention when it gets too high and too impulsive, and a good example of that was back in here 2024 of July, the summer of 2024, where suddenly a massive drop came here on the Japanese yen. So what happens? The Bank of Japan suddenly starts buying yen with foreign reserves. So they start dumping the dollar and they start buying the yen. And this could cause the dollar to drop as well. So that's why I'm also being cautious on the dollar, because once that currency intervention here happens on the Japanese yen, that could cause the dollar to drop and the yen to strengthen. So I'm monitoring some potential more downside here on UJ. I do think that there is potential for this to drop down lower. Actually, we have on a 1 hour time frame liquidated quite a lot. We had the impulsive phase here, and now again the impulsive phase here. So ultimately what I'm going to be looking for is potentially this here now being the break construction line, some internal liquidity to get taken, and then on the retest I'll be looking for potentially another short back down towards some of the open liquidity lows. So changing my bias a bit there on UJ, assuming that a potential currency intervention is on the way, I'll be monitoring what I read in the news, and I'll be sharing that as well inside of the Discord. I did a big update yesterday on the Japanese yen, so make sure to read that as well. But I do think that there is potential for a UJ short in the very near future. To be honest, I would have even been a fan of getting in with a wider stop loss like this of around maybe 250 pips as an initial position, just to be in the market if that currency intervention happens. Because if it happens, like in 2024, you can see a massive, massive drop very, very fast. It also happened in 2022 as well over here, when you can see that UJ was just flying on a daily basis. So I'm looking to keep an eye on that here as well, as the impulsive nature could sign that the Japanese need to intervene here. And then, of course, we have gold. When it comes to gold, gold is still bullish due to uncertainty and let's call it stress / problems between China, Taiwan, and Japan. So Japan is supporting Taiwan at the moment, and as most of you probably know, China wants pretty much to control Taiwan. So they're sending military units into that strait between Taiwan and Japan, or Taiwan and China, causing global tensions also at the United Nations, and this is currently causing gold to rise. So what I'll be monitoring here now after the break structure is additional skill wins for gold. So we've seen another break up, and now what I'm looking at here on the 1 hour time frame is, hey, where can we get into new long positions? So we've had another impulsive phase here in towards the highs. Where's now the liquidity? The liquidity lies underneath the bullish candlesticks here. So let's say the market does retrace a little bit deeper. And by the way, we also liquidated this low here. Let's say we do retrace a little bit deeper, then we could look for a potential long from 0.5 fib together with liquidity, and I would be looking for, who knows, a stop loss underneath the lows here, targeting a new higher high. So yeah, that's definitely on my radar for gold. So that's it for today, guys. USDCAD and NZDUSD, if it pushes up higher, are pretty much just the most interesting pairs. USDJPY potentially as well. EURUSD and GU, sadly, very consolidated at the moment, so don't get caught up in any unnecessary positions. That is personally what I not will be doing. Yeah, that's pretty much it for today. Speak to you guys inside Discord. We'll be going live for the New York session here on YouTube, and speak soon.